Hello everyone, welcome to part 2 session of Privilege Identity Management. In previous part, I have explained how to enable Privilege Identity Management, and once the Privilege Identity Management is enabled, when I click on Privilege Identity Management, quick start under my roles, by default the global admin is required to enable Privilege Identity Management, and the person who enable Privilege Identity Manager will get three active roles, which is security admin, global admin, and privilege role administrators. Let's configure the configuration of privilege identity management. So technically, we can do two important things under privilege identity management. One is manage Azure AD roles, and second is manage Azure resources. So before I start this demo, I done couple of changes. First changes is I back to the default Azure AD, or the same Azure AD you can see, and under this notification, under the properties, I enable this checkbox yes, which is the default subscription admin can manage all the subscriptions and management groups in this directory, and the person who is a global admin. Second thing I did, I done the discovery under the Azure resources. When I click on Azure resources, by default Azure subscription is not showing. So when I click on discover resources and click on all, and then it will show you the subscription. Select the subscription and manage. And finally, it asks you to one consent yes. So end of the day, I want privilege identity management is managing this Azure subscription and resources for the privilege access. So this thing I done from a discovery end. Let's talk about the actual configuration. So when I click on Azure AD roles, or back to the default directory, click on the users. So I have total three users in this Azure AD. One is a global admin, which enabled Azure PIM, and Ian and Peter by default, it's a standard user. When I click on Ian and directory roles, so there's no directory role assigned. And when I click on Peter, the same no directory role is assigned. So it means technically these two guys have no access to any kind of role under Azure AD or Azure Resources both. So when I click on Privilege Identity Management, I click on Azure AD roles. So I'm a global admin. So under my roles, it will get same three roles. So let's configure the manage things. Under manage, first is I'm going to click on settings. So for each role, I can define individual settings. Let's take one example. I'm talking about Azure AD roles. So in Azure AD roles, one of the important role is global admin. So when I click on global admin, so maximum activation duration hours. By default, it's 1 hour for this guy, and maximum is 72 hours. So I can define the timeline that if anybody required a global admin rights, the maximum duration cannot be beyond say 10 hours. Second thing is send email notify admins of activation. I enabled, and MFA is not required, and I can require approval to activate this role. And with specific, if no approval are selected, privileged role administrator will approve by default. So if you need to add some other guy as an approver, we can do that. Right now I'm not doing because I am a privileged identity manager admin by default. So these are the changes which I have done under this AD roles. So now these are the settings. When I click on roles, add members, I'm going to give privilege permission now, which is a global admin permission to a user called Ian. So now I've given a global admin permission to Ian. The major difference between the same thing we can achieve in go to the role-based access control, click on the subscription level, click on the resource group level, and I can give role-based permission as a global admin. So, or I can go to the Azure AD, I can enable a global admin. The major difference is here we can give a some limited point of time with the business justification. So when I click on the roles, when I click on the global admin, you see the technical difference. When I give a permission, which is under role-based access control, it will be permanently assigned. But in this case, can you see the Ian, it's eligible. I can make manually as a permanent admin, or I can remove this person from a global admin privilege. So that's a very important technical difference. Here we are giving you are eligible and you have rights to do something for some number of hours based on the setting which I have defined in a previous step. So what I'll do, I'll try to log in with Ian. I'm going to click on this a different browser and try to log in with Ian now. And portal.azure.com. Ian, Azure AD, or I can say go to privilege identity management and my roles. So I am eligible as a global admin, which is not active right now, and there is no pending request sent by me, and I am not having any active role as of now. So it means if I go to a different or same browser but different window, and if I try to create a resource group, I don't have any account right now, no permission. So now it's Azure AD. So same thing, I can give a global admin also or some other privileges also. So now I'm going to activate my privilege, and so it's verify your identity before you proceed. Which is 366868. So once identity is verified under MFA as a mandatory step, let me go back to again privilege identity management under my roles, under eligible roles, activate. So now the 10 hours, the default setting which I have enabled as a privilege admin. So that's a maximum duration I can send a request or approve. So global admin to configure single sign-on for SaaS application. So maximum 10 hours. And in this case, the important thing is I can customize those 10 hours also, a specific time. So done. So it automatically validates all the three steps. and technically ask you to sign out. It will take 2 minutes time and finally sign out and try to sign in once again with the same user called Ian. So once I enable with Ian and go to privilege identity management under my roles, so I am a global admin technically for 10 hours. So you see zero pending request, access valid until September 13. Today is September 13 and based on the local time zone. So 10 hours from 2:32 to 10 hours. So it automatically show you activate, but we no need to worry about this activate. We need to worry about the status, which is I'm a global admin. So eligible roles and active roles. So you see in active roles also it's visible and deactivate. So it means if I am as soon as I am able to finish my work, there is a best practice we need to disable or deactivate this account. So this is called based on Ian. Let me go back to a global admin and now I'll go to the second role called Azure Resources. Select my subscription. I want to manage my Azure subscription resources. So under my roles, again I am a global admin. So definitely I have full access, which is inherited access. So I click on this settings under manage. So now Azure Resources. Azure Resources means say network contributor to create and manage networks. So I click on this network contributor individual permission. So allow permanent eligible assignment. I make it none, which I can change, edit, allow permanent eligibility also. So if anybody wants, say, join my project for as a network admin, I can make somebody as a permanent admin as well. Allow active assignment and active maximum duration is 24 hours and required MFA settings while enabling activation. It's mandatory. Required approval to activate, and if I need to add some other person as an approver, otherwise by default global admin is there. So that's why global admin is not visible. So I'm not making any other guy to make a approver. So permanent eligibility is also enabled. Updates. This is limited to a network contributor role. Same way you can manage other roles as well. So let's go back to the roles. Add members. This time I'm going to give a second guy called Peter, which is selected role first, which is network contributor. To a user called Peter. And now I have full choice. I can make him permanently eligible member as a network contributor because I enabled the default policy in a previous step, or I can make him eligible for some time or active for some time. The difference is Eligible means the user needs to activate based on their demand, and active means I can make it enabled right away. So if I'm making right away to manage customer network to troubleshoot something. So there is a guy who comes from different project to troubleshoot something related to a network. So I'm making eligibility right away. So a couple of options are there. Save and done. Now Peter is a network contributor now. So when I try to log in from Peter, let me sign out. Portal.azure.com, Peter. Azure Privilege Identity Manager. And under my roles, first of all, I am eligible, not for AD roles. It should be AD Azure Resources, and select this subscription, and then my roles. So active roles, because I have not made at that time eligible. So if it is I make him eligible, I have to activate that role. But as a global admin, I enable as a assigned. So end time is specific time for some hours. So expired roles, if anything is expired beyond that time, it comes under expired roles. So let me go back to the global admin. Now next is my audit history. So my audit history will give you a details report like what is pending, what is completed, and how much activation is done. You see couple of minutes before I done activated couple of things, and now you see Ian assigned, unassigned, role setting I changed, and after few refresh we'll get this is related to Ian, which is we done it for Azure AD roles. Now let's talk about Azure resources for Peter. So now you see remove eligible member from this, update PIM, add member to the PIM request, and I've given recently as a eligible network contributor role. So it means whatever the changes we are doing on every request, all these logs are created under audit. So that is called the next configuration. Now I'll go to click on this review access, very important. I'll into this privilege identity manager review access. So anyone who is given a administrative rights, so if I need to see the overall reports, I can see under the review access. So it takes some time to populate that report. So now I'll go to the privilege identity management review access, or go to this. Okay, so once I have to push the policy, then it comes under this. So let's go to push one policy. Under privilege identity manager, click on Azure AD roles and then review access. and review access reviews and create a new policy. So roles, review for all global admin. This is for September month. Start date, it's one time schedule. End date, and which privileges I'm looking for as a policy. Global admin. Reviewer. Member self, no, I am a reviewer. So now once the policy is hit, so auto apply result. What is auto apply result? If reviewer does not respond, I can say remove access. This is a good policy if somebody is not responding and technically don't need this review or this role. So right now I'm not doing auto apply, and it show all the recommendation and other stuff. So I'm kickstart this policy. So after few seconds, they will give me the result of overall global admin results. Now you see under Azure AD roles review, wherever we done this policy, it's active. So how to see this active policy result? Go back to the privilege identity manager, and under review access, so whatever the policy we hit for Azure AD roles or Azure resource roles, we will get it here. So this is the same policy, review for all global admin September. And in this policy, now we see how many global admins are available right now. So you see Kumar is a global admin, which is from as a default. And this user has signed in. And now it's see Ian is also there. When I click on view, recently we make Ian as a global admin. And then it gives you details when, what time it will be given that access and what changes he's done. So same thing when I go to Azure resources and Azure subscription, and there is again same option, access reviews, and same thing I can do it, access reviews, network contributor. And you know technically there is a Peter is there who is a network contributor. So I'm not doing auto apply policy. So in a production environment, if we apply this policy and somebody is not responding, we can disable that right or remove that rights. So looks good. And which role review we need to do, which is again network contributor. So I'll pause this for 2-3 minutes to kickstart this policy. Once this is done, again I am going back to privilege identity management. Under reviews, this time I am going to click on review for network contributor. So Peter is there. Thank you very much for joining this demo.